by these houses.
Tim and Takako Oberst are getting their first look at the damage caused by the old Trails fire.
I mean, if you look at how lucky this house is to survive, and everything around it is totally burnt, it's pretty crazy.
They walked along this busy northwest Spokane street when it reopened. There's a fine line between the work still left to do and the heartbreak left behind.
Pretty amazing to recognize the houses on TV as you're watching it on the news being burned down and saying, I know exactly where this house is. And it makes you think about, is your house still left?
They live a couple blocks away.
I feel fortunate the fire gods have spared us this time.
But so many others are digging through the destruction where homes once stood, finding comfort in Pearl Jam.
They just get so much strength from their music. I just keep it on loop. Yeah, anything you can find.
Finding even more comfort in the messages of hope and love from neighbors written in chalk along the sidewalk, and finding purpose in digging up family heirlooms.
My mom's silverware collection, where'd I find a piece?
Melted but found, like so many other precious memories.
My mom had a beautiful crystal cabinet, crystal from all over the world, and it's all just melted into the most incredible shapes.
There can be beauty in tragedy, and the little things, like the mailman dropping off letters.
Well, today's the first day they let me back onto my route.
Sidelined by evacuations.
No, they wouldn't let me even touch it for the last week.
The little things that keep tight-knit communities moving forward.
The Snohomish County Sheriff's Office is investigating an unusual case. Unusual, first off, because it has arrested a woman in a homicide. Usually it's males who are behind that type of crime. The Sheriff's Department says it responded in the evening hours of Tuesday, August 11th to a Marysville address and found a 43-year-old man dead at the scene. After some investigation, the detectives determined the man had been run over by the female, someone who he knows, who was driving a vehicle. Major Crimes Unit detectives say they developed enough information to arrest the 43-year-old woman for suspicion of murder in the second degree with a domestic violence component. She is in jail now, and the Snohomish County medical examiner has yet to identify the man who was killed.
If you rent in Seattle, listen to this. You know those extra costs that come out of nowhere, commonly referred to as junk fees? The Seattle City Council has passed an ordinance that would keep landlords from charging those so-called junk fees. Those extra charges might be for things like having a pet in your unit, in-unit appliances, gym access, and getting mail. The ordinance now bans those fees and requires landlords to be honest about how much they will charge a tenant for rent. Landlords can still ask for security and pet deposits, as well as late fees and parking fees. After the mayor signs a bill, it will take effect next July.
The Department of Homeland Security says it is planning on spending $10 to $20 million on these things called gloves, which are basically just gloves that are tasers. The information is coming from the Acquisition Planning Forecast System, and you can see the dollar amount here. The glove is manufactured by a company called Compliant Technologies that's based out of Lexington, Kentucky, and this is what their website looks like. On their site, it has the glove. It says #1 hands-on de-escalation. It also has the E-band restrictor, which is kind of like an ankle monitor or an arm monitor that you wear that also delivers electric shocks, a vest that does the same, and apparently a shield. Their social media post also shows that they've been awarded a contract with the North Carolina Sheriff's Association, so DHS isn't the only law enforcement agency that uses this. This is also on their Instagram page where they're demonstrating how this works. So they put the gloved hand on this man's leg on bare skin and it delivers a shock.
It's Seattle Tattoo Expo week, and I came up with a great idea to celebrate it.
What's the plan for today? What's the mission?
I'm just gonna give you a tattoo. Hopefully you like it.
Okay, here's the deal. I'm getting a tattoo by Corgi, but I honestly have zero idea of what I'm getting.
At least I know what colors he's using, black and red. You ready to put the stencil on?
I don't know what I'm getting. I always come up with dumb ideas.
Well, I mean, I'm being nice to you, so it's not too bad. We gotta keep it a little PG.
Yeah.
All right, jump up, take a look at it.
I think he's done. Can you talk a little bit about the design that you came out for today?
When I think traditional tattoos, I think traditional eagles first. And I just threw the flower on there because I like flowers.
Which is, it goes back to the 1970s. It's a lot of old, limited light, low ceiling situations. We're going to open that up like we have in the other designs throughout the airport, bring in more light, bring in some more amenities that go along with that, and replace that space that's basically a big hole right now that used to be where we had our customs facility. Now we're going to turn that into extra space for dining, retail, and additional amenities. This has really transformed our airport from what was really a 1970s kind of drab-looking space to now we're back in modern day. So these are spaces that if you haven't come here in 15, 20 years, you're going to suddenly look at the airport and go, wow, is this what I remember before? No, it isn't. So we use grants that we get from the FAA, other grants from the federal improvements, as well as then the money that we generate from the airport itself. Whatever we earn here at the airport has to be spent back again to the capital projects that we build. So if you don't use the airport, you don't pay for any of this expansion.
As people in Spokane continue to deal with the devastation of wildfires, they're also getting some comfort from the community as well as organizations. Just tons of volunteers pitching in, doing whatever they can to provide resources, something as simple as a meal, a little help, or in a lot of cases, just a smile and that proverbial shoulder to lean on. World Central Kitchen has been basically patrolling the neighborhoods, offering free meals and cold drinks to wildfire victims, firefighters, even our crews, just making sure that people have what they need, and they're doing it with a smiling face. And of course, the big one, the American Red Cross has had volunteers on hand to let homeowners know what resources are available to them, just working with them to provide any help they might need. This is a good time to remind everybody that King 5 has activated Northwest Response, our partnership with the American Red Cross to help people in need as they continue to recover from these devastating wildfires.
Tracking some legislation that was unveiled at City Hall by Councilmember Dan Strauss, it really looks at finding ways to make sure people living in their vehicles on city streets are not forgotten. So what this does is it pours some funding that already exists in the city budget into outreach work to help those people. It also wants to look at creating things like safe lots and making sure there are resources to help people get out of the RVs and into shelter, pathways. So this is something that Donna Anderson has already been doing. She is a regional operations manager with the Low Income Housing Institute. She helped open up a safe lot that was in Inner Bay, operated for about a year and a half. She says in that time, they were able to retire 67 rundown RVs and get most people that were using that site into some permanent housing. She's now looking at another piece of property that's on West Marginal Way Southwest. She says she's going to be able to fit 72 RVs on there. They hope to open that sometime in the fall. And she's also closely watching this legislation that's going on at City Hall to see if that might help in this effort too.
What's downtown Seattle going to do with all of this empty office space? What about housing? Could people move into these empty buildings in the downtown area? I'm Jake. I follow the news so you don't have to. And for this one, I'm going to take you uptown, where I found this building that was once a kind of boring old office space that's been sitting empty for years, and a local developer just came in and turned it into an apartment building. They renovated all the floors, they're adding a rooftop garden, even added an entirely new 5th floor that has some really awesome views, I have to tell you. This upper end unit goes for about $5,000 a month, but leases are down to about $1,500 for other units. Could this kind of office to residential conversion be the key to saving some Seattle neighborhoods?
We have 5 projects in the pipeline right now. This is the first one.
That's Rico Keaton-Nongo, who runs the city's planning and development department. He's trying to streamline these conversion projects as a way to revitalize neighborhoods and bring people back down here. If you haven't heard by now in my previous video, Seattle is dealing with a kind of urban exodus right now.
I'm hopeful that we just see more projects like this, but it's inspirational.
Not every one of those buildings can just be turned into housing. They have to have the kind of guts needed for a residential apartment complex. Niño tells me about 10% of all unused buildings here in the downtown area could be candidates for this kind of residential conversion. Huge expensive projects like this have to make financial sense for the developer. People behind the project, they just love Seattle and they believe in the downtown core. That's why they're investing. Let's face it, Seattle's in a crisis. 35% of office space still sits empty. The future of the city may be more residential housing. Follow for more news updates.
Well, NOAA issued their monthly El Niño La Niña report today with an El Niño advisory. We are in El Niño conditions. That does not affect our summer weather at all. That basically affects us from late fall through early spring. But with that, they're also saying there's a 90% chance we're going to have a very strong El Niño and a 70% chance that it could be the strongest El Niño recorded since 1950 when they started keeping the records of El Niño La Niña. With that, we do expect the odds of our El Niño type impacts being much higher, that they will occur. But again, it only shifts the odds, so it still isn't guaranteed. They keep underscoring that in their reports. But should it be El Niño effects on us, that will be primarily above normal temperatures. Precipitation actually could go either way in terms of being greater than normal or less than normal. But it looks likely at this point that we'll have above normal temperatures during the winter. But we'll continue to update that as we get closer to that winter.
Well, it was a first time for everything, and today it's first time, first pitch.
All right, you know I've been following the abandoned cat boat situation here in Tacoma for a few days now. Now I'm out here Monday morning, August 10th, and I can still see the boat here. And we have already seen several little cat and kittens popping up here and there, some walking along the edges of the boat. The Tacoma Police Department says that animal control will be out here again to finish off the rescue. About 10 to 15 cats are estimated to still be on the boat. We were out here on the water over the weekend and counted up to 10 cats from different angles. I looked at the video even more closely today, and that's how many we were seeing. I've also been speaking with a man named Jesse. He and his friend Ashton actually jumped into the water over the weekend when they heard a splash near the boat. They were nearby, and one of the cats either jumped into the water or fell overboard. Regardless, they went into the water to save the cat. They said they got scratched up quite a bit, but Jesse told me it was all worth it because they wanted to keep that cat from drowning. They did get that cat safely to a veterinary hospital for care afterwards. We're going to keep you updated on what happens here with the rescue today, so stay with King 5 for that. You'll also hear more from Jesse, but a lot of you have been also asking about food and water on the boat. I put some updates in the videos I posted over the weekend, but just to let you know, Animal Control did make sure there was food and water on board when they were out here doing that welfare check and the rescue. So that's some good news. As a pet owner, I've had cats in my lifetime, grew up with them. I now have dogs. It's always important to know that they're taken care of, they're fed, they're watered. So that's one thing that I hope puts a little bit of ease into everyone's hearts that loves animals. Again, we'll keep you posted here about this abandoned boat here on Puget Sound and any more information we get from Tacoma Police regarding how this boat ended up out here with all of these cats and who owns it.
I was talking to a woman who lost everything in the Spokane wildfires, and she had expressed concern about what she called outdoor kitties, kind of semi-feral cats that lived in her neighborhood, but she would leave food and water out for, and they would come and eat, and they were well taken care of. They just happened to live outside. She was worried about them and what happened as the fire tore through her neighborhood. Well, one late evening as we were doing our report for the news, we saw the glow of the eyes of what sure looked like a cat off in the distance. I was able to get some video, albeit rather dark, and I shared this with that homeowner, and she immediately thought that was for sure one of those kitties and told me she was going to head back the following morning, put some water out and some food, and hope that they would come by. Here's the update to that. She says, yes, it's confirmed. That's one of those kitties. Alive and well, seemingly doing just fine.
We've just heard about an attempt to recall Seattle Mayor Katie Wilson. The prosecuting attorney's office is reviewing charges filed with the elections office on August 11th. Those charges say the mayor's primary responsibility is to protect the people of Seattle, but has failed to do so on multiple occasions. Most recently, by getting rid of the police chief in the middle of the investigation of a mass shooting, and by turning off CCTV cameras in parts of the city. Mayor Wilson's office wrote a statement saying in part, "We're aware of the petition that has been filed. While it does not appear to have merit, our focus remains where it belongs, on making life safer and more affordable for the people of Seattle." This effort to recall the mayor is not a simple one. It has to pass through several steps before it can get on the ballot. And just for context here, the last time a Seattle mayor's recall made it on the ballot was in 1975. That effort failed and the mayor stayed in office.
All right, I got my fire mic, which means that I have a hot investigative reporter tip. This one's specifically for anyone on Hinge, Tinder, Bumble, Raya, or any other dating app. Here's 3 things to do before going on that first date. First, do a reverse image search. Simply take a screenshot of their photo and then run it through Google Lens. I'm doing this with my fancy news lady photo there, and you can see all of the results pop up showing where this photo is on the internet. It pretty much nails it. It does get some other blonde reporters out there, but it does a good job of matching and saying exactly who this photo is of and where it comes from. Second, check your county and or state's court website. I'm in Washington State, and you can see I can search for a person or name on the Washington Court's website. So I'm just gonna go ahead and type in a random name, Joe Smith, let's go with. You can see all of these different results pop up for different Superior County courts across the state. I use court records all the time in my reporting and oftentimes find things that I wasn't expecting, like DUIs, domestic violence charges, lawsuits, and much more. It's important information to know about someone, and it is public. All right, and number 3, Google their name and city. I know that's super simple, but it can turn up publicly available information that may help you corroborate what they've told you, or it could tell a different story. So there you go, 3 quick things you can do before going on that first date. Hope it helps, and make sure to follow for more investigative reporter tips and tricks.
Crews spent hours working to clean up this mess that the crash left behind. They've been using a loader throughout the morning to clean up and scoop up the garbage and dump it into a bin. There was a lot of debris here, construction garbage. There was pieces of wood, there were pieces of metal and other debris scattered across the ramp. This blocked the northbound I-405 ramp to eastbound I-90 for hours this Thursday morning. State Patrol tells me, thankfully, no one was injured in this semi-rollover, and the crash only involved the one semi. They didn't confirm what caused the driver to overturn the semi itself, but they said speed may have been a factor. There were some pretty visible skid marks there on one of the ramps onto eastbound I-90. This is right by the marketplace at Victoria. This was all a pretty big mess this morning for drivers, and it really took a couple of hours for this to fully clear. Reporting in Bellevue, Savannah Welch, King 5 News.
All rise, please.
It's graduation day for Skagit County's drug court class of 2026. One after another, people whose lives had gone off the rails now find them back on track.
I'm very hopeful that this is the last time we have to hear State of Washington versus Brennan Walker.
People like Brennan Walker, who was facing 10 years in prison because of his fentanyl addiction.
Just looking for a chance.
Brennan and about 600 others over the past 30 years have gotten that chance. Drug court offering low-level offenders the opportunity to avoid jail time if they get sober, stay out of trouble, and pay restitution.
But I saw everything from a new perspective, and it's just been amazing.
But the class of 2026 will be the last class to graduate from drug court, a $2 million budget hole prompting Skagit County commissioners to eliminate the program.
It's just going to close the door on a lot of options, and it will probably result in more people going to prison.
Skagit County's drug court program has historically saved taxpayers money, returning more than $7 for every $1 spent, but that math no longer pencils out. A county commission spokesperson telling King 5 the program had consistently low enrollment relative to its cost, resulting in a very high cost per participant, adding this was a difficult decision and does not diminish the value of the work done through drug court or the positive outcomes for individuals. Brennan Walker hopes the county's decision isn't a death sentence for the program.
My whole life has changed.
Eric Wilkinson, King 5 News.
Your hiking buddies on this trail in Maine have very short legs. There are also 13 of them.
We have Pebbles, Raggy, Lizzie, Blossom, Slipper, Bogey, Annika, Willow's right there, Greenie, Lucy, Poppy, and Fruity Pebbles.
These corgis lead visitors along a roughly 1 mile trail through 56 acres of woodland in Ellsworth, Maine. And if you're wondering about the tiny fairy houses scattered along the way, there's a reason for those too.
So corgis are the fairy steeds of the forest in England, and so we kind of moved that over here to beautiful Maine.
Dog breeder and owner Jennifer White says she was already running a hiking business when she began bringing her corgis along about 9 years ago. The dogs now join visitors on the trail before needing a well-earned rest.